A horse got pregnant with twins with a 1 in 10,000 chance of survival. When everyone said she wouldn't survive, something unexpected happened. Welcome back to the next story of Animal Dream Story. Subscribe to the channel and start an interesting story right away. Luna, the heart of the Johnson family farm, was more than just a horse. For years, she had been a steadfast companion to each family member. She carried the youngest children on her back during sunlit afternoons, pulled wagons of hay during harvest, and stood patiently while Andrea braided flowers into her mane. Her gentle spirit had soothed them in times of loss, and her strength had been a constant presence in their lives. Luna wasn't just a workhorse. She was a symbol of resilience and the thread that wove the Johnson family together. Now Luna faced the greatest challenge of her life, a rare and life-threatening twin pregnancy. When Dr. Cooper, the family's trusted veterinarian, delivered the grim news, it hit the family like a thunderclap. It's a miracle she conceived twins, but the chance of survival is only 1 in 10,000. I recommend aborting 1 embryo to give her the best chance. The suggestion left the Johnson family reeling. In the kitchen that evening, the debate began. Andrea, the youngest daughter, couldn't bear the thought of sacrificing one of the foals. "Luna is strong," she insisted, her voice trembling with emotion as she stood at the head of the table, her hands clenched into fists. "She's beaten the odds before. We owe it to her to try." Her parents exchanged uneasy glances. "Andrea, it's not just about hope," her mother said gently. "It's about making sure Luna survives. She's a part of this family, and we can't lose her." "But she's always been there for us," Andrea argued, "through every storm, every hardship. Can't we try to be there for her this time?" The room fell silent, the weight of the decision pressing down on them. Her brothers, Sam and Jake, added their voices to the conversation, each bringing practical concerns. "The vet's right," Sam said quietly. "The risks are too high." But Jake, glancing at Andrea's resolute expression, said, "Maybe we can manage it, with enough care." Andrea's right. Luna deserves a chance. Moved by Andrea's unwavering belief, the family finally came to an agreement. "We'll give her a chance. But we have to prepare for everything this might take." They knew the decision meant sacrifices. It would require relentless care, constant monitoring, and more than a little hope. Dr. Cooper outlined a detailed plan, including frequent ultrasounds, a specialized diet for Luna, and rest protocols to minimize stress on her body. The family rearranged their schedules to ensure someone was always at the farm to watch over Luna. Each member of the family found a role in supporting her. Andrea researched dietary supplements, carefully measuring out meals Luna signed to give Luna the nutrients she needed. Sam reinforced the barn's flooring to make it softer under her hooves, and Jake built a ramp to make it easier for Luna to enter and exit the paddock. Even neighbors pitched in, dropping by with supplies or offering words of encouragement. Despite the daunting odds, the family's decision had filled the farm with a renewed sense of purpose. They were united by a common goal: to give Luna and her unborn foals every chance at life. The pregnancy was anything but easy. Luna's once vibrant energy dwindled as her condition progressed. Her energetic gallops through the pasture became a distant memory, replaced by slow, labored steps. Each morning, Andrea would guide Luna to the pasture with a gentle hand on her halter, speaking softly to her about the day ahead. The family adjusted Luna's diet meticulously, adding high-calorie feeds, supplements, and fresh fruits and vegetables to provide her with maximum nutrition. Martha, Andrea's mother, began waking up at dawn to prepare warm oatmeal with molasses for Luna, a treat she eagerly accepted. Andrea spent hours each day brushing Luna's coat, ensuring it stayed clean and free of irritation. Sometimes, Andrea brought a portable speaker to play calming music in the barn, believing it helped soothe Luna's nerves. She even read aloud from her favorite books, her soft voice filling the quiet space. Complications, however, soon arose. Luna began experiencing bouts of discomfort and swelling, especially in her legs and abdomen. These episodes left her restless and often pacing in her stall. The family would stay up late, taking turns sitting with her, applying cooling wraps to her legs and massaging her aching muscles. One evening, Luna refused to eat, her head drooping low in exhaustion. Andrea stayed by her side all night, whispering softly and stroking her neck until she nibbled at some hay. Dr. Cooper performed ultrasounds, monitoring the foal's heartbeats and Luna's condition closely. Each visit brought mixed emotions, relief when the foals appeared healthy, but anxiety over Luna's steadily declining strength. Dr. Cooper provided updates, often cautioning the family about the risks, but Andrea's optimism never wavered. She kept a journal of Luna's progress, jotting down notes after each vet visit and capturing small victories, like Luna showing interest in a new treat or managing a short walk without fatigue. One day, an event that made the whole family worried. Luna, grazing peacefully in the pasture, stumbled on uneven ground. Her large frame wobbled dangerously before she managed to steady herself, but not without scraping her leg against a jagged rock. Andrea, who had been nearby hanging laundry, sprinted to Luna's side. Her heart pounded with fear as she inspected the cut and led Luna back to the barn. For days after the incident, Andrea refused to let Luna out of her sight, even setting up a makeshift cot in the barn to stay close. The family, despite their worries, rallied around Luna with unwavering devotion. Jake reinforced the fencing in the pasture to prevent further accidents. Neighbors pitched in too, dropping off fresh alfalfa or offering to help with farm chores so the Johnsons could focus on Luna. Andrea's determination became the heart of their efforts. She decorated Luna's stall with lavender sachets to ward off flies. Whenever doubt crept in, Andrea's hope kept everyone grounded. "Luna's a fighter," she would say with conviction, "and so are we." Despite the challenges, the love surrounding Luna created a sense of purpose that kept the family going, even in the darkest moments. Together, they faced each hurdle with a shared belief. They would see Luna and her foals through this journey, no matter what it took. One chilly spring night, Andrea was awakened by a series of strange noises coming from the stables. At first, she thought it might be the wind rattling the barn doors, but the urgency of the sound tugged at her instincts. Throwing on her coat and grabbing a flashlight, she rushed outside. The cold air bit at her cheeks, and her breath fogged as she sprinted across the dew-dampened grass, her heart racing with worry. As Andrea pushed open the barn doors, the faint beam of her flashlight revealed Luna pacing restlessly in her stall. Her breaths were rapid and shallow, her sides heaving with effort. Andrea's heart sank. Luna was in labor, weeks earlier than expected. "Oh no," she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. She could see the strain in Luna's eyes, the silent plea for help. Andrea's first instinct was to reach for her phone, but she realized with a sinking feeling that the vet's clinic was too far away and there wouldn't be time for anyone to arrive. Her mind raced, recalling the countless hours she had spent researching foaling emergencies. Grabbing a clean towel and the birthing kit she had prepared weeks in advance, Andrea knelt beside Luna. "It's okay, girl," she murmured, stroking Luna's neck. "We can overcome." The barn was eerily quiet, save for the occasional whinny from the other horses and Luna's labored breaths. Andrea worked quickly to spread fresh straw in the stall, creating a soft and clean space for the foaling. She glanced at her watch. Every second felt like an eternity as Luna strained and groaned. The glow of the flashlight cast flickering shadows on the barn walls, making the moment feel both surreal and urgent. Minutes turned into hours as Andrea stayed by Luna's side, her hands trembling but steady as she prepared for the birth. Finally, with a guttural effort, 2 foals were born. Andrea's breath hitched as she saw the tiny colt lying on the straw. Wasting no time, she cleared his airways and gently rubbed his fragile body with a towel to stimulate circulation. The colt let out a weak but determined whinny, and Andrea smiled through her exhaustion. As the foals began to nuzzle against their mother, Andrea's exhaustion melted into awe. She sat back on the straw, watching as the colt and filly found their way to Luna's side. Luna, despite her exhaustion, gently licked her newborns, her maternal instincts finally taking over. Andrea wiped a tear from her cheek and laughed softly. "Paul and Bill," she said, naming the foals in honor of their miraculous arrival. The barn was filled with an overwhelming sense of wonder and relief. Andrea stayed with Luna and the foals through the night, feeding them small amounts of milk to ensure they gained strength. She jotted down notes in her journal, recording every detail of the extraordinary event. By the time the first light of dawn crept through the barn windows, Andrea was still by their side, exhausted, but deeply grateful. It was a night she knew she would never forget, a night that proved the strength of love, resilience, and the power of hope. The joy of Paul and Bill's miraculous birth was short-lived. Just a few days later, Andrea spotted a shadowy figure approaching the farm as the sun dipped below the horizon. The man, who introduced himself as Victor, carried an air of quiet authority. His tailored coat and polished boots contrasted sharply with the rustic simplicity of the farm. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the barn before locking onto Andrea. Victor's words were as unsettling as his presence. "The birth of twins is extraordinary," he began, his voice low but commanding. "But these two foals, they're more than just a rarity. Their genetic makeup could change everything." He explained how elite horse breeders, obsessed with creating perfect bloodlines, would stop at nothing to acquire the foals. "They're not just animals to these people, they're commodities and very valuable ones." Andrea's stomach churned. "Why are you telling me this?" she demanded, her protective instincts flaring. Victor hesitated, his expression softening briefly. "Because I've seen what greed can do, and because I used to be one of them." He left a business card on a nearby barrel. "Call me if you need help," he said before disappearing into the shadows. At first, Andrea dismissed Victor's warning as paranoia, but her skepticism began to waver when strange incidents started to unfold. One morning, as she prepared to feed the horses, she noticed that several tools were missing from the barn. At first, she thought it might be her brothers borrowing them for repairs, but no one in the family knew where they'd gone. Then eerie noises began echoing near the stables at night, soft footsteps, the faint clink of metal, and whispered voices that stopped as soon as Andrea stepped outside. The most chilling discovery came one evening when Andrea was cleaning the hayloft. She spotted something glinting under a bale of hay, a small black device with a blinking red light. Heart pounding, she realized it was a listening device. Panic set in as the weight of Victor's warnings sank in. Someone had been spying on the farm. Andrea called an emergency family meeting that night, laying the device on the kitchen table. Her parents' faces turned pale as she recounted the strange noises and missing tools. "We need to protect them," Andrea said firmly, her eyes darting between her parents. The family quickly sprang into action. Tom installed new locks on the barn doors and added motion-sensitive lights around the property. Jake set up a surveillance camera near the stables, while Martha reached out to trusted neighbors, asking them to keep an eye out for anything unusual. Andrea, unable to escape the feeling of being watched, began sleeping near the stables with Luna and the foals, with a flashlight and a sturdy wooden stick within reach. One night, as Andrea dozed lightly in the barn, she was awakened by the soft crunch of footsteps outside. Heart pounding, she peered through a gap in the barn door. A shadow moved near the fence line, pausing as if to survey the area. Andrea's grip tightened on the staff, but before she could act, the motion sensor lights blazed on, startling the intruder. The figure bolted, disappearing into the night. The next morning, Andrea found fresh footprints in the damp soil near the fence, confirming her fears. She called Victor, who arrived within hours. "They're testing your defenses," he said grimly. "This isn't over." Victor began working closely with the Johnsons, sharing his knowledge of the elite breeders' tactics and advising them on how to strengthen their security. Despite the fear and tension, Andrea's determination only grew. "They won't take them," she vowed, stroking Paul and Bill's soft coats. "Not while I'm here." The farm, once a place of peace and simplicity, had become a battleground. But Andrea refused to back down, knowing that the safety of her beloved foals depended on her courage and resilience. Determined to protect the foals, Andrea poured herself into uncovering the truth about Luna's past. Late at night, after securing the barn and ensuring the foals were safe, she would sit at the kitchen table with her laptop, poring over old breeding records and horse registries. The process was slow and frustrating, but Andrea's resolve never wavered. A breakthrough came when she found an obscure article about a secretive breeding program conducted years ago by a group of elite horse breeders. To her astonishment, Luna's name appeared as one of the key horses involved. Andrea confronted Victor with her findings. He sighed heavily, running a hand through his graying hair. "It's true," he admitted. Luna was part of a project to create genetically superior horses, ones with unmatched speed, endurance, and intelligence. Paul and Bill carry that legacy, which is why they're so valuable to the breeders. But the program was riddled with ethical violations, and I walked away when I realized the harm we were causing. I've been trying to make amends ever since. Victor's guilt was evident, but his knowledge proved invaluable. He shared details about the breeders' tactics, how they used intimidation, bribery, and even theft to obtain the horses they wanted. "They won't stop," Victor warned. "You need to be ready." The tension reached a boiling point one evening when a convoy of sleek black SUVs pulled up to the farm. A group of well-dressed men appeared, their sleek appearances contrasting with the rural surroundings. The leader, a man with a sharp suit and an even sharper gaze, introduced himself as Lauren. "We're here for the foals," he said, his voice smooth but firm. "They belong to us." Andrea stepped forward, her jaw set in defiance. "They're not going anywhere." Lauren's tone turned icy. "We can make things very difficult for you, young lady. I suggest you reconsider." Victor emerged from the shadows, his presence causing a ripple of surprise among the group. "Back off, Lauren," he said coldly. "You know this isn't legal." The confrontation escalated. Victor, standing beside Andrea, discreetly texted the local authorities, who were already on high alert thanks to her earlier warnings. Meanwhile, Andrea kept her composure, refusing to be intimidated. "These foals are under our protection," she said firmly. "You have no right to them." The standoff dragged on, the tension thick in the air. The breeders attempted to push past Andrea, but Victor and Andrea's brothers blocked their path. Just as the situation seemed ready to spiral out of control, the distant wail of sirens broke through the tension. Moments later, law enforcement arrived, their flashing lights illuminating the darkened farm. The authorities quickly intervened, questioning the breeders and reviewing the evidence Victor had provided. The listening device, the missing tools, and Victor's testimony painted a clear picture of the breeders' unlawful activities. After a tense interrogation, the intruders were arrested, their plans thwarted. As the SUVs were driven away under police escort, Andrea finally allowed herself to exhale. She looked toward the barn, where Luna, Paul, and Bill were safe and sound. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but Andrea knew their journey was far from over. After difficult events, Andrea often sat in the meadow watching Paul and Bill. The foals, playful and curious, seemed unaware of the danger that had once loomed over them. They nipped at each other's manes and raced through the open grass, their laughter like whinnies filling the air. For Andrea, these moments were a testament to resilience, not just of the Foles, but of her family and their unwavering determination. Andrea reflected deeply on the journey they had endured. Paul and Bill were more than just foals. They were symbols of hope. Their birth had tested every member of the family, revealing strength they didn't know they possessed. Luna, once weary and burdened by her rare pregnancy, had become a doting mother. Her connection to her offspring, a reminder of the unyielding bond between family members. After watching this story, I would love for you to rate it from 0 to 10 in the comments section and let me know where in the world you are listening to this story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can bring you meaningful stories.